concept of core inflation used to make me angry. In fact, I used to think it was the perfect example of how out of touch with everything economists were. But this month's inflation report is a perfect illustration of why I have come around to the concept of core inflation. So inflation is just prices rising, and the inflation rate is the rate at which prices are rising across the economy. And in September, prices were rising at a rate of about 2.4%, which is pretty low. It's really close to what the Federal Reserve likes to see, which is 2%. Now, core inflation is when you look at all the prices across the economy, but you don't count the price of food and you don't count the price of fuel and gasoline. And the reason for this, economists will tell you, is that food prices and gas/fuel prices tend to be really volatile between weather and geopolitics, things like that. And the reason this used to make me angry is I thought, well, I'm sorry that food and fuel are messing up your charts, but those are the things that I can't get out of paying. No matter what happens, no matter how volatile these prices are, I cannot get around buying food or gas for my car. So why did I come around? Okay, well, so if you look at this month's report, you can take a look at some of these prices. In general, compared to last year, prices are up 1%, down 0.5%. Prices are pretty steady. Prices aren't changing all that much year over year. Now, there are a few prices that changed a lot year over year. And one of the big ones, look at this category, fuel. Fuel oil down 22.4% compared to this time last year. The reason for that is oil production has kicked up in a lot of places, and at the same time, a lot of economies across the world are slowing down. Their economies are slowing down. And when that happens, their demand for fuel goes down. So that means there's a bigger supply and a smaller demand, and that tends to bring prices down. Still, these prices do not really reflect our experience in the economy. Yes, it is quite a bit cheaper for us to fill up our gas tanks, but in general, we are not seeing most prices dropping by 20%. That's just not something we're seeing. So what happens in a moment like this is because fuel prices are down so much, it kind of pulls down the average of everything else. It makes it look like prices across the economy are rising more slowly than they actually are. And so if we take fuel out, what we see is that prices are actually rising at a rate that's closer to 3.3%, which is actually significantly higher than the Federal Reserve's target interest rate of 2%. So this is why economists like to look at core inflation, because fuel and food do tend to be way more volatile than other things. Sometimes they can throw off the whole average and really make it look like we're paying a lot more or a lot less than we actually are. And the report for September is a really great example of this. So this is why I have come around to core inflation.